What is a clever way to save money that most people don't realize? Story 1. Politely make a counter offer when you get a job offer. It's actually expected, and there's pretty much zero risk in doing so as long as you don't turn it into an ultimatum. You're probably throwing more money away by not doing this than you can save by pinching pennies and not buying drinks at restaurants. Answer. Do you have graceful wording for this? Should it be, I was thinking more like offer X? I always feel it needs justification because other company is paying Y, or average for someone in my field is Z. But that info is all coming from Glassdoor, but then I'm told that those numbers are way off base, the websites aren't reliable. I'm not in STEM, so salaries aren't as transparent, and none of my friends work in the same field. Story 2. Don't go shopping as a form of entertainment. Put long-term savings in an investment account and not the bank. Invest in a credit card with cashback rewards that you put into savings only if you can pay the balance off each month. I use one for groceries, gas exclusively, and make about $400 annually just for using the card. Learn what's really worth it. An overpriced day at the spa with mesh services or a really good 90-minute massage close to home for less. Story 3. Don't buy the cheapest option. Buy a couple of steps above it. The cheapest washing machine will last you 3 years, and then you have to buy a new one. Just wait for a special offer, Black Friday or some sort of clearance sellout, and get the last year's model for a discount price, and it will last you 10-15 years. Same thing with most machines, cars, computers, and clothes. Don't buy a cheap pair of sneakers. Save up and buy a slightly more expensive leather boot, something that you can actually maintain, repair, and reuse. Any furniture made out of cheap material is going to collapse eventually. Buy real wood and it will last for a lifetime. Same thing with pots and pans, bed linen, clothes, and so on. Answer. I agree that we need to maintain and use to its full extent whatever we buy. There's too much fast fashion, short lifespan stuff and devices, but I've also learned to buy cheap when I know it's appropriate. Like, for example, one summer I was working outside pouring concrete. I just needed a pair of work boots as my sneakers were not safe. My father-in-law told me to buy a 200 pair of boots. But since I work in IT as my regular job and can't use work boots at all for almost anything, I bought the cheapest Walmart brand on sale for $15 and just used them this summer. I was going to throw them out, but they held up for those few weeks, so well, I'm keeping them in case I ever need them. If I'd bought some expensive ones, I'd have paid way too much for a pair that I'm only going to use a few days in total and probably donate to the thrift store in a few years. It also gives me time to consider that if I end up using work boots a lot and wear them out, at least I know to buy better ones. I think of it as a trial pair. I've gone thrift store shopping and find way too many barely broken and brand name shoes people think they'll use often, but never do. I think most people just need to really consider their needs, not wants. Also, I bought my father-in-law the 200 work boots instead since he was doing most of the work. LOL, I know he'll use them more than I ever will. Story 4. Take your own lunch coffee to work. I did the math. Before the pandemic, I would spend almost $15 a day on breakfast, lunch, and morning coffee at work in the cafeteria. I work at an on-site daycare. I was laid off for a few months, and when I came back, the offices were still closed, and the cafeteria has been closed since. So I bring my own food. So that was $15 a day, 5 days a week, so $75 a week, $300 a month, $3,600 a year. On food at work, I have been saving so much that when the cafeteria opens again in a few months, I'll still bring my own food. It adds up. Story 5. Keep almost all your money in an account that's not connected to your card, but you can easily transfer from. Keep only enough to cover small expenses, like a coffee or small grocery store trip, in the account that's connected to your card. Every time you buy something that costs more than $20 or so, you'll need to take an extra step in transferring the money for it, and also have to look at your account balance to better gauge whether it's really worth it. This stops nearly all impulse buying for me, other than small items. Answer. To further this, get paid into a savings account and earn interest on what you don't spend from day one. Edit for clarification, because a lot of people seem to think that I'm suggesting you squirrel away tons of money in a standard savings account forever and ever. Shop around and find a savings account that gives you a bonus rate for regular deposits. Get your wages paid into it. Even if the rates are low, as they are at the moment, you are earning something for it to be there. This account should be reasonably easy to access, i.e., directly connected to a debit card or no fee transferred to a debit account. From the savings account, regularly review what you need the money for and what might be a better use for it. Depending on your circumstances, this might be weekly, monthly, quarterly, etc. Invest the surplus in higher earning forms. Depending on your risk adversity, it might be term deposits, shares, property, etc. These forms of investments are typically harder to access if you need the money on short notice. Even if you maintain the balance of 1,000 at 1 PTA, that earns you 10 a year, which is more than you would be getting from your piggy bank, as has been suggested elsewhere on this thread. Anything excess to what you would reasonably need to access in a week should be invested into a higher earning investment. I am in Australia. One interest is available to most adults. There are bank accounts with further bonuses for young adults and/or students, for children, or for retirees. Shop around. Look up comparison websites. Find something that suits your circumstances. Disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor and I don't know your personal circumstances. This may not work for you, but it is a way to get your money to start working for you from the moment it arrives in your bank account. Story 6. I have 2 rules that I've always tried to follow, although not always as well as I'd like. 1. Happiness doesn't come from acquiring things I want. It comes from avoiding things I don't want. 2. I can only spend it once. By following these rules, I'm not rich, but I've at least avoided poverty. Answer: 1. Happiness doesn't come from acquiring things I want. It comes from avoiding things I don't want. So much this. People always say money can't buy happiness. Well, yeah, it can. That's what money is for, buying things. What it can't do is tell you what will make you happy. No matter how much money I have, having a mega yacht will never make me happy. I dislike sailing, so I won't buy a yacht. Story 7. I have developed several ways to save significant amounts of money without much effort. Thrift stores, especially where I live, there are lots of them, and they have deals quite frequently. If you time it right, you can get just about any durable good for less. Now, it won't be new or shiny even, but if you want some plates, who the fudge cares? After 3 months, those 10 USD new plates will be just as scuffed as the 99-cent thrift store ones. Same with glassware, coffee mugs. Clothes are hit or miss because so many people are reselling thrift store shoot. Go early in the AM if you can. Swap meets are same as above, but you can typically find newer items here. Beware of resellers peddling Alibaba Alibi Express specials. Expect to pay more for your goods. People know what they have. Ethnic markets. They sell many things at higher prices, but if one goes to the Asian or Latin market for spices, you will get 2-3x as much for the same price, and the quality is as good. Computers and electronic goods are easily found through Nextdoor or friend networks. Always keep a few nerds under your belt in your friend group, and ask often when their company is disposing of electronics. You may just find that you don't have to pay for, say, a laptop with no HDD, a 100-foot Cat5e Cat6 Ethernet cable, or even some AV cables and dongles, some of which can be expensive. University surplus, government surplus. These are open to the public, and they sell everything from furniture to computers and bicycles, even vehicles, at rock-bottom prices. Restaurant supply stores, same as above, but some are not open to the public, so find a way to get in or order from one like Standard Restaurant Supply, which is open to anybody. You can get everything from dishware to appliances at about third to 12, the cost of a premium cooking store. Lots of good knives as well. Answer: for men, secondhand stores are amazing. Most males would never step foot into a secondhand store, and the men's section is usually much smaller than the women's sections. But there are some really crazy deals, even more so than the bargains for women's clothes. For $100 and $200 and a couple visits to local secondhand shops, you can have a top-notch set of professional clothes for work. Story 8. Make your own coffee at home. Don't go to places like Starbucks or even the independent coffee shops. You might have to spend a little in the beginning to get a decent coffee maker set up, but in the long run, you will be saving yourself time and money. Story 9. Take a lesson gleaned from Milton Friedman. He is the economist who during WW2 saw that the Treasury was struggling with money coming in, specifically with people being able to pay their tax bill at the end of the year. So he had an idea and suggested it. Why not have taxes withheld from paychecks, and we can have the people reconcile at the end of the year and either pay the difference or get a refund? You see, cutting the check every quarter or at year's end was too much for a lot of people. So the money coming into the treasury was not good. But when a little was taken out every pay period, people adjusted accordingly. So do the same thing yourself if your employer allows it. Set up a savings account and have a little bit of money, say one of your net pay, withheld every pay period. You will adjust your spending habits, hopefully, and be saving a little money. Then every time you get a pay increase, commit some of that raise to the account as well. I would praise the benefits of compound interest at this point, but with rates being what they are. Story 10. Check the product's price per ounce while buying groceries. I would not say it save a ton, but they save how few bucks here and there. Try to buy groceries only when the previously bought items are used. This helps you to avoid wastage and completely clean refrigerators. Story 11. Wait a week before you buy something you want. Obviously, this doesn't apply to groceries and the like, but otherwise, if you find something you want, write it down and wait a week. You'll probably find you want a lot of stuff that you give zero fudge about after a week. Answer. I think there is a lot of marketing that scares people into buying right then and there. There are places like TJ Maxx, TK Maxx that tell you on big signs, buy right now or it will be gone. And I've seen other places that say once it's gone, it's gone. So it causes a panic and people think they need it right then and there. Etsy has this thing where it will say only one available and it's in 10 people's baskets. For all we know, the seller is the one adding it to multiple baskets to try and drum up interest. I've missed out on things before, but I would rather that than have purchase regret. Story 12. Don't go for the sales and go against the stream. Buy winter clothes in the summer. Buy summer clothes in the winter. X200B, I always make a wish list of what I want. This would probably be a spending spree kind of a feeling. After that, I'll let that all stay in the wish list shopping basket and go back a week or two later. Still want it? Great. When do I need it? Not now. Put it in a wish list and wait until the sales are back. Story 13. Pretend you're a broke college student for a month, then gradually add things back into your life. You'll have a new appreciation for small things like getting the good bread or something. A reset like that can help you realize which lifestyle creep things you don't really want and make you more thankful for things you were taking for granted before. Tips on living like a broke college student. 1. You don't really need any subscription services. Check out movies, audiobooks, and more at public libraries or find interesting YouTubers or Twitch streams. 2. Carb chicken vegetable seasoning can be cooked so many different ways. Current favorites include Instant Pot teriyaki chicken rice bowl and slow cooker barbecue chicken with homemade fries and cooked vegetables. If you're spending more than 2 per person per meal, cold water is delicious. Public parks, game nights, and movie nights are free and great activities for hanging out with friends and family. 5. Just getting into this myself, but gardening is a fun, rewarding hobby that gives you food and can be a way to recycle food scraps. Story 14. I'm used to just spending money on my debit card. If I see the money in my account, I want to spend it. I recently bought my first car and haven't been able to save any money. My BF and I are trying to buy a home, and I needed to start saving again. I've recently got an organizing envelope binder and labeled them with each bill I have, then other categories for things I normally spend money on. I organize like this: Bill 1, Bill 2, Bill 3, Bill 4, Bill 5, Bill 6, Fund Savings, House Savings House, Spet Fund, Cargus Fund, Groceries. This has helped me so much. I take all my money out of my account, split them all according to the bills and such, and then savings, and finally fun. I try and leave myself $100 for a month for fun. I've literally been able to save so much money and I even spend less. Story 15. Stay a generation or two behind and buy it secondhand. Don't buy a new PS5. Buy a PS4 Pro when the PS5 comes out and there's a million PS4s for sale. Don't buy a new M5. Wait until you get one off a 3-year lease. Don't buy the new smartphone. Buy last year's when the new model comes out. Don't buy a T-bone steak. Get a sirloin for your wife and eat or jerk. Just common sense, really. Buy things when depreciation is right at the point of diminishing returns. Except for you PC gamer guys, you're fudge on GPUs. Story 16. When you pay your bills, let's say cell or internet is, for number's sake, 183.54. Round that up to 184 or 185 flat. Nice whole number when you budget. After you pay the bill, you'll have that margin amount left over. It's not much, but a couple dollars or cents here and there will add up over time. Also, as someone else has said, set a spending floor for yourself. I call it a 0 point. Whatever you have in savings or checking, set an amount: 20, 20, 50, 100, whatever reasonable amount you can manage, and make that your zero. If you have 350 in your tax account, but act spend as if you really only have 250, you'll now have that 100 for emergency food, gas, part of a bill. That 100 doesn't exist until you really need it. As you save money, you can increase that 0 point to wherever is comfortable. Story 17. Give yourself an allowance and stick to it. I'm a grown adult with a mortgage, kids, and a good career, but my personal allowance is only $150 per paycheck. This allowance is to cover all the things I want but don't need, like restaurant meals, fast food, social outings, recreational activities, non-work clothes, in-app purchases, etc. I can spend it on whatever the heck I want, and my husband can't say a thing about it. He has an allowance too. But it really makes me choose my priorities while still allowing some freedom for the occasional poor choice. Story 18. I've recently been trying to fast from spending on certain days of the week. I don't know if it is a unique concept or even wise, but the thought is that by limiting my spending from Friday to Sunday and not spending any money from Monday, Thursday, except for recurring monthly payments, I will, on average, spend less than I would otherwise. It forces me to meal prep, which is good for both health and finances, and not spend on unnecessary things for at least 47 days of the week. Story 19. Make your own iced coffee, even the flavored kinds. We brew strong coffee, add sugar and chocolate syrup while it's hot, and let it cool. Pour it into a gallon jug, add creamer, and refrigerate. When you want some, put ice into a reusable bottle with a straw and add the coffee. Story 20. I have about $130K in savings and earn about $40K a year in California with a wife and kid. When I say learn how to save from me, I fudge mean learn it for me. Make saving a hobby. Play a game with yourself on what you can save money on. Buy a cheap car. Sell the expensive one. Pay off debt, loans, etc. Pack your fudge lunch for work. $200 a month. That's electricity bill. Make your coffee at home. 20 week. That's fudge gas money ball at thrifty stores and look for new items. Exercise for fun and don't buy things because you want them, but because you need them. Story 21. Put it in a wallet you don't use. Put that wallet in a drawer you don't use much, but has valuables and is easy access in case of emergencies. Put money in there every month, like clockwork. Eventually find you've got more money than you originally thought. Story 22. This might be obvious, but know what stores have the cheapest items. Most chain grocery stores way overprice their produce. Learn this by working at a small produce store. You can often get much cheaper produce at those smaller mom-pop produce places, if you have one near you, or are at an Asian food market, Mexican food market, etc. If it is summer, you might be able to get bulk produce at nearby farms or farmers markets. Many fruits, veggies can be kept frozen for long periods of time. All stores have certain items they underprice to draw customers in while overpricing others. Spend some time and walk around each store to figure out what they tend to mark down and keep cheap and when. Pay attention to the details on your food packaging. Look at the weight and check the price tag to see how much each ounce costs. Food corporations literally have a team whose job is to trick you into paying more for less. Stop, look at all of your options, and really inspect each item to see what they are offering and for how much. And look at the other options nearby. Don't buy in bulk if it will literally cost you the same price to buy the smaller portion. Convenience stores and substances stores usually overprice everything. Get your makeup at a grocery store. Adult beverage is often much more expensive at a liquor store while cheaper at grocery stores. But it all depends on the store itself. So pay attention to the little things. I've saved literally tens of thousands of dollars doing this. Story 23. Spend cash, but save all your tens, your fives and ones, and all your change. I did this when I worked as a server getting paid tips. Basically break a 20 anytime you want to buy something. If it's not worth breaking 24, don't get it. It adds up big time and quick too. Story 24. Stop using cash and absolutely stop using debit. Those are poor people things. Get a credit card. Pay it off completely every month. Going out for drinks with friends. Instead of everyone splitting it on their debit cards, have your friends all Venmo you what they owe, then put the full bill on your credit card, then pay the bill off by transferring the money in your Venmo to your checking account. It's literally free money. Whether you get 1 to 3 cash back or airline points or rewards. Story 25. It's not saving and investing for retirement. Even if you can afford to do that, it's cutting out things that you really don't need to spend money on that would be better spent elsewhere. For example, people buy things like designer clothing and expensive purses just because they look good, when in fact they're actually not necessary, and you can easily get the same thing without spending a dime or having to put in any extra effort to do so. You can't go around saving money and being totally frugal. If you were only frugal, then you would only have enough money to cover the bare necessities. That's not very frugal if you ask me. Instead, I suggest that you find things you can cut out and not spend money on, and do those instead. Some people just don't have the discipline to not spend money on things that they don't really need. But if you're willing to find ways to save money like couponing, selling old stuff, looking for sales, using coupons, buying generic brands, etc., then you can save more money than most people by finding ways to spend less. Story 26. Set up a savings account and don't get a card for it, so you have to go to the actual bank to get into it. Then set up an auto deposit from your main account that happens on your payday. Then if as you get raises, you don't get a raise, your savings account does. Story 27. Below are things that help. 1. I give myself a cash allowance and leave the money cards at home. It helps prevent overspending if you have a budget. It also helps reset one's responsible mindset. 2. To prevent an impulse purchase, count to 20 and see if you still want it. Helps distract the mind and no longer want it. 3. Eat breakfast at home. Wake up earlier if you have to. You'll be less tempted to buy snacks during the day. 4. Research free alternatives to stuff. There are websites or blogs that talk about free stuff. I know of a few websites called joneswebgoods.com and geekology.com sometimes shares free stuff. Those are good blog examples. Story 28. Use cash for everyday things. Lunches, snacks, small market store run, drinks. Don't ever spend any of the 5 bills you get as change. At the end of the day, put all your 5 bills in an envelope and put that envelope in a book so you don't get tempted. They add up really quick. Story 29. Lots of banks have savings helper programs where they automatically deposit some of your income into a savings account. For example, mine is set up for 5 of my income to automatically be deposited into savings, and it takes a random number between 4 to 13 and moves it to savings every day. There are also apps that encourage you to save by entering you into lotteries that give cash prizes. You put a certain amount of money into a savings account and you get entered into the lottery for that week, month. Usually the money has to stay in the account for a certain amount of time to prevent people from gaming the system, but it's a useful tool if you're a compulsive gambler that is trying to save some money while still scratching that itch. Story 30. Random off the top of my head. If your grocery stores do weekly ads and online coupons, find out when they come out. For me, it's H-E-B, and they usually switch on Wednesdays. I can see the deals before I go and build the next week's meal plan off that. Also, if you can go to more than one grocery store, do so. I buy most of my stuff from H-E-B, but Cokes and meat come from Kroger because they have better deals. If I have a big list, I stop by Aldi first. Spreadsheets can be super useful. I have one for groceries when I'm super broke. That is a lifesaver. It has a column for how much I expect to pay and an empty one for the real price. If I'm paying more, the cell turns red. I also have 2 sum cells that tell me exactly what I'm expecting to pay at the register. If something is off, I know immediately. Dollar Tree is great for retail therapy, especially during the holidays. Better to go on a shopping spree where everything is one. Calendars make great Christmas gifts when you're broke. They're cheap, they can be personal, and the new year is literally right around the corner. Shop the clearance at expensive stores, especially at the end of a season, but not Black Friday. I've found designer stuff for thrift store prices so many times. Macy's and Kohl's are my go-to places. Story 31. Might sound like a duh, but live soberly. Asian kitchens have a lot of really cheap but filling, healthy, and tasty food. Awesome. Like egg fried rice or something you can make a big bowl of for close to no money. Drink water, don't smoke, no coffee, no adult beverage. Make your own food. Don't go to Domino's every week. IDK, I sometimes hear going to Domino's in America is super cheap, but here in Belgium, it's really way more expensive than normal meal. Personally, I do this because I just like it. Don't like cigarettes, dislike the taste of adult beverage and coffee, and my tastes are really sober. I order Domino's once every 2 months and go to the cinema like twice a year. I'm happy. For people saying that it's really not easy to buy healthy, cheap food, you should look up Cheap Bodybuilder Meal on YouTube. That guy showed a way to get like big hot meals in per day at really affordable rates. Story 32. The Accountant's Tips. Meal prep, tons of recipes online. Buy non-perishables in bulk. Store brand is often just as good as branded items. Have an account for larger bills, i.e. car repair. Maintain that you deposit into monthly. Deposit some monthly into a savings account, but keep it separate from your card. Bread is cheap and freezes well. Make a shopping list before buying groceries and stick to it. Make your own meals at home and leftovers. Make excellent lunches. Make and keep updating a budget of rich transportation, utility, etc. That way you have a picture of how your finances are spent and if you should look for cheaper options. Stay away from fast food. No going to coffee shops either. Story 33. When you feel that urge to go to the movies or the mall or out to a restaurant for the 6th time this week or to the club, don't. Check out Reddit or YouTube or Wikipedia or something from Project Gutenberg. I'm bored is not a valid excuse to hemorrhage money like a fountain 14 times per day. Let the extravagant, unnecessary expenses be a treat, not a daily staple. There's more than enough entertainment value online. There's really no sensible reason to go drop 16 on a movie ticket, 3 on popcorn, 2 on a soda, plus fuel Uber bus expense, and to do it 3 nights per week. An acquaintance of mine was on a kick to pay down her crippling student loans. She never understood this. Her big idea was to meet a nice guy on one of her outings and convince and seduce him to solicit his help in paying it down. She wasn't very successful, but she did manage to run up huge credit card debt on top of her school loans. That really helped her financial situation. Story 34. Don't buy stuff that you don't need. I know people who buy things on sale because they may need it in the future and it's cheaper now. Small amounts add up. My sister is the worst. Always complains about not having money spends a few dollars a day on dumb stuff. 5 to 10 a day for 30 days is a lot of money. Story 35. Open a saving account with different bank or credit union. To save money on a car loan, I used the work credit union, and they would take payments directly from that account. The thing is, the closest branch is 5 hours away. I can go to a co-op bank, but that's a 30-minute drive out of my way. I've slowly increased the amount that goes into the account. I started to fund my hobbies and trips with that account. Also, extra payments to the car loan helps. Story 36. I've seen it on this post, but making your own food will save you tons. Also, cut down on adult beverage. Not only is it expensive over time, even if you go to the liquor store and drink at home. What you are not taking into account is the tipsy Amazon purchases or the fast food run that comes with tipsy munchies. Plus, you're more inclined to say fudge it when it comes to spending money when you're under the influence. If cutting back adult beverage is a problem, then there's a bigger issue at play that you might want to assess. Story 37. One of the biggest money holes is entertainment. Find hobbies that are either free or low cost to start. There is usually an Ask Reddit thread about this at least once a month. Date night, pack a picnic for you. And go to a local park. Or look to see if your city does something like First Thursdays. That's what OT is in Seattle, where art galleries are open, late to show new exhibits. And Wifton provide glasses of wine and munchies. And many of the museums are free the entire day. Also, just see what free museums there are in your area. Go to a pound and walk a dog. Story 38. When going through the interview process for new jobs, when they ask how much you earned at your old job, tell them how much you think you are worth rather than what your current old employer paid you. I was at a company for 5 years earning $19,000. No pay, raises, or increase in bonus for the entire time. I handed my notice in when I found another job who offered me $29,000. That was in 2016. I now earn just over $41,000. Know your worth. Being loyal isn't always worth it. Story 39. Cars. For most people, their cars is the second highest expense after mortgage rent. Never buy a new car. I used to sell cars. As soon as you drive it off the lot, you lose about 20 of its value if you were to turn right around and try to sell it back to the dealer with only 2 miles on it. Drive less. This is a big one. The more miles you drive every year, you will incur the following expenses. Needing a newer car sooner. If you drive 20,000 miles a year versus 10,000 miles a year, you will need to replace your car twice as often. If you can make your car last for 10 years instead of 5, you will buy roughly 5 less cars in your lifetime. That can easily be well over 100,000, and it could be a lot more than that depending on what cars you buy. Also, less mileage will equal less gas, less repairs, fewer new tires, and some car insurance companies have lower rates if you drive less miles. This is why Uber, Lyft, etc. are money-losing enterprises. You will never make enough money doing these gigs to make up for the replacement cost of needing a new car sooner. Don't get a job with a 30-mile one-way commute unless you are making a lot more money, like at least $20,000 a year, to offset the additional car expenses you will have. Not to mention the lost time in your life and the stress. Maintain your car. Getting a 50 oil change a few times a year is a lot less expensive than needing a 5,000 engine. The better you maintain your car, the longer it will last. See above note about making your cars last longer. Story 40. If you can bear it, cut your own hair or have someone you live with do it for you. All you really need is a hand mirror and a pair of clippers off of Amazon. I think of it like this. Will I ever cut my hair as well as an amazingly skilled barber? No. But if I'm going to get an okay haircut, I might as well do it myself. As long as you don't cut off all your hair, you can always do it again tomorrow if it needs fixing. Admittedly, I live in an area where haircuts are expensive and mediocre. Story 41. A trick that always works for me is to think about how many hours' wages I am spending on something. As someone who previously had a huge spending problem, this has helped me realize that I've worked hard for my money, and I'd rather be working my jerk off for a stress-free life financially than living payday to payday buying meaningless shoot. Story 42. A guy I work with saves every $5 bill he comes across throughout the year and puts it towards Christmas presents for his kids and wife. He does a lot of side work and runs a business on the side and mainly only takes cash. So by the end, it's the year he has a good chunk of change. He was saying he often ends up with enough to get gifts for everyone and still have money left over for himself. Could be a decent way to save money. Story 43. Use an HSA and max it out. It's literally a tax-free savings account for medical, and you can pull funds out without penalty after 65. Even better, I have an HSA plan through my work, and my wife and kid are on separate, non-HSA insurance plan. So they have a lower deductible, they have more visits currently, and we can pay it up to the deductible for my HSA. We don't typically have to pay out of pocket for most medical expenses. An HRA can also be nifty as you get reimbursed cash for medical expenses. My wife and I got really creative a while ago with a surgery and paid it off through an interest-free loan from the hospital and used the reimbursement money for higher interest student loans, effectively transferring the debt to a much lower interest zero loan. Story 44. Investing. I always struggled to save money, I think largely due to mental health. Anyways, once I got really into investing, putting money into my stock portfolio gave the same joy I got from spending it, without the regret or guilt, because I was actually making money for myself. One of my bigger wins was turning 2K into 6K in a day. I'm by no means rich, but I'm good at investing. Story 45. My mom uses the trick of overpaying the taxes. I don't know how it works in other countries, but in Finland, the tax changes depending on how much you earn per month year. So my mom put her tax higher than it needs to be, and during the tax returns time, my mom often gets about 1,000 euros back. It's just the amount of money she paid too much. Story 46. Ask your bank if they offer any sort of roundup feature. Anytime you use your card, it rounds to nearest dollar and deposits that into a savings account. My bank doesn't offer it, so I use Acorns. They also allow me to set a multiplier, so anytime I use my card, it rounds to the nearest dollar and multiplies by 10. I then take that after a few months and blow it all on Ethereum. Cheers. Story 47. Pay for everything in cash. There is some kind of psychological connection to actually counting out the money as you pay that just isn't there when you just put it on your debit or card. Also, since most people now get paid though direct deposit, you actually have to go withdraw the cash. So if you only pay with cash, if you haven't made that withdrawal, you can't buy said item. Story 48. Not spend money. It is such an easy solution to money problems. If you're deciding whether or not to buy that new Apple Watch or even that new pair of sunglasses, just say no. Unless you need them, there is no reason you should be spending money on them. Of course, I have nothing against Apple Watches. I have one, and it is very useful. Story 49. Challenge yourself to reuse stuff. If you begin challenging yourself to pause before you throw out trash, you might notice that you can actually reuse some of your waste. Seriously, think about the plastic sandwich bag that you put a sandwich in, and now the sandwich is gone, and you're about to throw away the bag. Sure, there are some crumbs, but otherwise, maybe you can clean it out and use it the next day after it dries. Story 50. Go to flea markets, yard sales, and antique stores to find things you wanted for cheaper. It saves a lot of money. Also buying electric cars because it's cheaper to house your electricity at home than paying for gas. And also often if you have to charge at a gas station, it's often free. Story 51. I save all of my $1 bills and all of my change. After a year, I bring it to my bank to deposit it. It adds up after a year. I am not always successful at keeping the $1 bills, and I have to use the quarters for the laundry machines, but it still adds up. Story 52. 1. Don't be a fudge idiot. 2. Don't eat out. 3. Don't buy shoot you don't need before you buy shoot you do need. 4. Coupons are literally everywhere. Take advantage. 5. Don't be a sucker. People with ace or a good sales pitch are much more powerful than you think. 6. Never buy things at the counter. They're cheaper elsewhere. and you probably don't need it anyway. 7. Don't smoke for fudge's sake. Discounted items are not always worth buying. Your get-rich-quick scheme most likely won't work, and the lottery is a scam. 10. Ramen noodles. Story 53. What is up with all the 6 coffee purchases? My dad took a thermos of coffee to work every day for 30 years. Never paid more than a few pennies a cup. People spend hundreds on coffee every month and then wonder, why can't I seem to get ahead? Not to mention paying $100 a month for multiple streaming services. Story 54. Not spending money. People buy stuff they absolutely don't need all the time. Kind of makes me feel sad, since unlike me, they don't have to pay a monthly subscription to not die. The money I spend just to live is the same money these people spend to enjoy life more, only to complain about being broke. I know someone who smokes and is like this. Story 55. Stop using your credit card for everything and reconsider all of the subscriptions that take money automatically every month. Most people don't realize how much it ends up costing them. My advice, use cash as much as possible since you can T-pitch the money. You can see more clearly how fast you are spending it. Answer, I disagree with the stop using your credit card part of this. Paying for your groceries with a credit card instead of cash doesn't save you money all of a sudden, since your groceries cost the same either way. In fact, using your credit card can save you money if you have a rewards program of some kind. Mine gives me 0.5 cash back on all purchases, with that amount doubled for purchases at grocery stores. This can add up. I agree that a credit card can make it easier to accidentally overspend. But if you're responsible with your money and budget and can avoid impulse purchases, a credit card is fine. Story 56. Contrary to popular belief, use a credit card for everything. Only spend what you have or set a budget. For me, I limit myself to 10 a day for food, and I am just generally cheap on other things. But the cashback adds up, and every once in a while, I save $50 on my bill for using a different card. Also, opening new cards will usually have incentives for free money. Story 57. Take your money out of the bank. When you get paid, cash a certain percent or amount of it, put it in a safe or an envelope somewhere hidden at home, especially now when the majority of people only use their debit or credit cards. If you don't see your money in the account, you won't have the urge to spend it. You might even forget you have money saved. Story 58. If you're buying pizza for a group, i.e., multiple boxes, get it in the largest possible size they have. Believe it or not, a single 18-incher is more pizza than two 12-inchers together. Geometry of a circle at work. Go half and half for the less popular toppings like green peppers, pineapple, chicken barbecue, etc., if not skipping them altogether. That's typically where the leftovers are at the end that nobody wants to finish or take home. You should only get these if requested. Otherwise, just cheese is probably better if you're worried about somebody not having anything they like. Square cuts so people who just want to try a certain topping can take a smaller piece. They'd probably rather not have a big slice of it anyway. Story 59. Buy quality and don't get lied by the brands. Buy the things you need with the quality you need and don't think that because it has a brand on it, it had the quality. Some brands are the same quality as the cheap stuff. You pay extra for their logo on it. Story 60. I don't buy stuff on impulse, but when find a thing I want to buy on impulse, I plan it out. I check the price, quickly work out the hours I have to work after tax to be able to pay it. Then I put those hours into useful stuff, whether it be work or home personal projects that will help me in the future. That way, I will always invest in myself and my future and feel like I deserve to have the thing, but also the things to stop caring about. I go pretty hard into this, and to get an idea about it, I haven't had candy or soft drinks in years because it's not worth the math, yeah. Same with any small things, but not actual food and necessities. And then I bought myself a new computer, and for that I've learned programming, HTML and CSS. Java is started, but good God, is it slow progress. It has given me some income too, since I've made a few basic websites for friends' businesses. I bought a guitar and lost 15 kilos. I stopped caring about those small things along the way because these projects or self-investments started to become super rewarding. And if you do this with your economy being considered, you'll save money and use them smarter and maybe develop some skills that can pull in some extra bucks or at least make you happy about granting yourself the opportunity to do something for yourself and for your future. And OFC, be smart about it because some projects cost money too. So work that into the time total of the project. TLDR, Plan your expenses and invest the time in yourself until you've worked up your set hours before buying said thing. Side note, this is roughly how I work out the math. Imaginary numbers for simplicity. I make 1,000 currency after tax for 8 hours of work. One day, I want to buy a gold-encrusted cucumber that goes for 3,000 currency, so 3 full days. Here's the thing, though. I'm not going to invest those 24 hours spread out those hours outside my regular work hours because it's an expense outside my ordinary budget. So I want to start running jogging to get in better shape. So every other day, I start taking 60-minute runs. 48 days later, I'm in decent shape and have gotten into the habit. I keep doing it because it's become a habit, and I get that cucumber, which is cool. On to the next project. Also, one big project at a time, and maybe another small one or two. Edit. Okay, so after writing this out and reading through it, this is super contrived XD. I guess I've just gotten so into it that it's second nature to me now, a rule I set for myself. Story 61. Don't get scared of being considered cheap. So many people spends money just because of their own ego. People that don't use their food stamps if someone is looking, or that never accept friendly stuff. If it helps you save and is not harm to others, just do it. People speak about others because the lives of others are way more interesting than theirs, and they are not going to shut up just because you cave and ruin your life over them. Story 62. For electronic products, phones, computers, buy the one that is really hard to overheat on the bottom of the machine, has a really good cooling system. I have a laptop that has lasted 7 years, constant use, versus the 500 plus 300 ones that I had to replace every 2-3 years. Story 63. Number one easiest way to save money, and it's not even close, is financial restraint. Requires a bit of discipline, but it helps you look at things objectively. This is even better than the bite and hold strategy used to prevent impulse purchases, because an impulsive purchase that's in your cart or something can still result in making a purchase you didn't need. The number two easiest way to save money is to track your spending. By tracking where your money goes, you can see points in your life where you're spending a lot more than you should, then apply your restraint in those areas. Story 64. Not clever, but get out of debt. I was in the cycle of paying off credit cards overdrafts for years, month to month, and never really saved anything. 2 years ago, I finally broke the cycle, and the savings I've racked up since have been crazy eye-opening. Little bit every month on payday really does add up over time. I never realized because I was paying off the debt I was in instead. Really makes you feel good too. Story 65. I am just being straightforward and would say just think twice before you buy the stuff. Like if it's necessary, if you're planning to use it often, or only once before putting it away. Is it an emergency purchase? Is it possible to buy it next month instead? Do you really need new clothes, phone, sunglasses, shoes, or whatever right now? Maybe the old stuff still works fine. Maybe you're subscribed to something where you pay monthly and you realize you are not using that service that often. Story 66. I buy basic clothing cheaply and spend up occasionally on an accessory. This means most of my shoes, undershirts, boxers, socks, etc. come from Costco. Adidas shoes can be had for like $26. I will sometimes buy something nice like a pair of sunglasses or whatever. But when all is said and done, my bottom line on clothing is much less than the glory days when I would just default and hit the regular mall every time I needed something. Edit. Guess this isn't really clever now that I think of it. Story 67. I like to contextualize costs into hours worked. Basically, divide your take-home pay by the hours worked to get your realized wage per hour, and then use that figure to divide product prices into your labor hours. 1,200, that's 40, that's 0.85408, assuming 15 tax, 408, 40, 10, 28, or about 10 per hour. So for every 10 in cost, you need to work 1 hour. Now you can ask yourself if you'd actually do 10 hours of work for the thing that costs 100, or more realistically, 30 minutes of work for the 5 item. For me, this makes it easier to separate needs and wants, and also I tend to seek better value because this is my time and I can never get it back. Story 68. Buying good quality investments, blue chip stocks and ETFs, flipped a mental switch for me. Future gains and tax penalties incentivize you not to sell and subsequently spend. I started comparing purchases to how much I'd earn, or how much I'd saved, or how far I was from the next 1,000 or 1,000 increment. Story 69. I keep my money in my backpack. It's annoying to take on and off, so I find myself spending way less on silly little things when I'm out to avoid the hassle of removing it and putting it back on all the time. Sounds stupid, but having slightly less convenient access to my money really has saved me a lot of money on mindless spending. Story 70. I fully agree with bringing lunch to save money. It's a game changer. There are other things too. Cut down on adult beverage and cigarettes, dine out less, and the thing that worked best for me, put 10 of your income into a retirement fund before you see your wages. As far as I was concerned, that wasn't part of my salary because I never saw it. It went into a fund I couldn't access until I reached a certain age. Story 71. Paying on time and in full for annualized services or subscriptions. It's insane how the added monthly fee of an extra couple of dollars adds up with things like auto insurance, homeowners, renters, software subscriptions, etc. Don't get me started on late fees. From the water bill to auto registration, paying late costs you so much extra. And people who pay one bill late are probably paying most late, so it isn't just $5 a month. And stop overdrafting. Cut your expenses and luxuries to the none until you can pay for the necessities on time and you'll stop save so much. Story 72. Multiple bank accounts. A hitch is hard, at least in Canada, because major banks tend to charge extra beyond a single checking. My wife and I use 2 checking accounts and about 8 savings accounts. One checking is everyday living, stuff, groceries, gas, that sort of thing. The second is all reoccurring bills for the year. We take every recording expense we have, right down to Amazon Prime, divide it by 26, and put that amount into that account every pay automatically. All those bills come out of there. Savings accounts are things like Christmas and birthday spending, personal fund money, clothing and toys for the baby, emergency fund, etc. It levels out our spending a crazy amount and makes everything way more predictable. No looking in the one checking account wondering if both car payments came out or if there is some yearly bill coming out yet. We went from living paycheck to saving hundreds every paycheck on top of scheduled retirement or ESP savings and live way better. Story 73. Get off TV. You can stream things, granted not everything, for free. With the option to pay a subscription or a larger one-time price, always go with the larger one-time price. For example, Xbox Game Pass. For me, there are only a few games I want to play, so I bought them and now they're mine. With Game Pass, I'd keep paying money for nothing, as I don't intend to get more. Granted, this makes sense for me, but for others, Game Pass may actually be better. It varies. Just an example. Story 74. Paying extra for something that will last long-term. A more expensive pair of jeans that last 10 years is worth paying $200. Same with cars that are likely to last 20 years. Or a house that's a little more to purchase, but in a neighborhood likely to rise in price consistently over time. Story 75. Don't buy the cheapest, but buy decent quality for cheapest. And don't buy new things. Just BC, you want them, but buy them because you need or love them. Invest in a HQ minimalist wardrobe. If a new clothing item isn't the best quality, but on sale for $40 and you're trying to decide, then don't. That new stuff feeling always wears off. Haha, get it. And also buy quality, gorgeous minimalist wardrobe. 100 per piece you love, that you can wear for a long time. Will feel high quality and last, and save money from wearing everything cheap a few times. Story 76. Keep your operating expenses low so you're not blindsided by costs. Car breaks down or you lose your job. You can skip lattes and haircuts and vacations until you're back on your feet, but you can't skip fancy apartment rent or French bulldog vet bills. Story 77. Have your paycheck direct deposit put into your savings account. Only remove from your savings the money you need. Like if you are paying your monthly bills, only transfer enough to checking to pay your bills. This makes your money more difficult to get to and will make you consider each transaction before you make it. Then any money left over will just stay in your savings. Story 78. When you are considering multiple job offers, get their benefits sent to you so you can review the value. Benefits can be up to 60 of your total compensation, so everything else being equal, it might make sense to take a slightly lower paying job if the benefits more than make up for it. Story 79. Put it away somewhere that you'll forget about it, but not completely lose it. There's more of an impulse to spend money when it's actually in your wallet or out in the open. Alternatively, if you're going somewhere that you know you don't need to buy anything at, don't bring your wallet. Story 80. Read consumer reports. Objective, transparent, third-party testing of products. If you're going to invest in any kind of machinery for your home, car, or office, this can be the difference between replacing the item in 2 to 3 years versus 5 to 10 years or longer. And it can be the difference between happy use and an emergency room visit. Companies have entire marketing teams to make you think the glossy, embossed item is sexy enough for you. They pay for positive reviews on sites. But does it last? Is it energy efficient? Is it quiet, clean? And does it have the functionality you need? Is it safe? This matters for everything from a baby's car seat to toaster ovens. Story 81. First car, took out a loan to pay it off, was few hundred a month. Once I paid off the car, I opened another account and linked it to my main account where all the money comes in. I continued to take out car payments to this other account, saved up pretty quickly. Story 82. I started something a few years ago. I think I may have gotten it from Reddit. I read a post about someone asking the bank if they had any $2 bills every time they went to the bank. It's kind of fun, and I'm into currency, so I won't spend the twos. Anyway, currently I have about 2K in twos, just waiting for a rainy day. Story 83. I don't know if your bank would have it, but mine has a type of account that every time I buy something, it rounds up to the nearest dollar and saves the extra change. It's never much added from each purchase, but it adds up over time, and at the end of the month, I barely notice that I haven't spent all my money. So basically, get familiar with what types of accounts your bank has. Story 84. When you have a mortgage, you save money by paying it off weekly instead of monthly because of how compounding interest works. Also, if your property is in an area where prices are increasing, when you go to refinance at the end of a X-year period, in order to get the best rates available at the time, you should also opt to have the value of your house reassessed. The logic behind this is that if your house is worth more than you bought it for, your interest on your loan decreases as it now looks like you have paid off a larger percentage of it on paper. This allows you to pay off your loan even faster. Story 85. First, I figure out what my total monthly income is. Next, I run all of my fixed costs out of my checking. Fixed costs are my monthly car living expenses. Basically, everything that doesn't change month by month. From there, I figure out what my remaining money is. In this case, I have 2K left. Set a savings goal. Mine is $1,000 per month. So therefore, I have $1,000 free to spend. I run all of my variable expense through a credit card, so I can track how much I have spent MTD. If I spend under my given budget, then I get to save that additional if I chose to. Story 86. Lots of clever ideas here, but the truth is that there's really only one solution, and that's to learn impulse control. So how do you learn impulse control? Sadly, the only way is usually through painful experience. Go through a few months or years of always being behind on your bills, not knowing how you'll pay for groceries, and being afraid to look at your bank account because you were stupid and spent money that you shouldn't have. Sooner or later, you'll decide that you've had enough of this shoot, and you'll learn to say no to that voice in your head that says, you want it, right? Just go ahead and buy it. You have the money. Story 87. A lot of the time, if you're saving up for a long-time goal like a computer, for an example, you can save easily 100 or more if you spend a month to buy things than to buy them all in one night. A lot of the time, the component you want will actually dip below MSRP. Once you do this enough, you may even be able to upgrade another part. This can apply to basically anything. Just be patient. Story 88. Automatic deposit to a money market or similar account. Typically, it takes 3 days for money to transfer out back to regular bank account. So during those 3 days, you'll have time to consider if the purchase is worth it. You'll earn amount of interest. Story 89. Just stop buying things that don't add to the quality of life if you don't own your own house. Movies, video games, Amazon, etc. Those just pass time. Experience life by getting outside and doing the activities which make you a better person. Invest in real estate with others if need be. And literally, it can save you 40-70 of your annual rent when you do your taxes. Once you own real estate, you on your way to financial freedom. Story 90. My bank has a feature that is called Change It Up that takes the difference in cents between what you paid and what the product was worth in cents. And it stores that extra in your savings account every time there is a transaction on your debit card. You can choose to put it back into a savings account, or you can put it on a bank's existing loan on your account. You can also make it add up faster by contributing an additional 1.5 per transaction, which you can set in the app. Adds up pretty quickly. Story 91. If you are going to order takeout, if you're getting it delivered, buy enough for 2 to 4 meals and then save your leftovers. Obviously getting something you can reheat and have it still be decent and planning to actually eat that for your next few meals. It's much better to work on cooking things yourself than buying from a restaurant, but it's a way I've managed to keep myself of getting bored of lunches I can take to work, support local restaurants, and make the crazy amount of app fee delivery, fee-gov mandate fee tip worth it. A goal of mine is to transition more to cooking more for myself, but this is a better intermediate than getting takeout multiple nights in a row. Story 92. Drink water when you're thirsty, not Coke or adult beverage. If you aren't hungry but really want to snack on something, get something savory that lasts a long while, like a lollipop. Saves tons of money and really useful for getting back into shape. Story 93. If you rent close to work. Yes, you might find something cheaper farther away, but at least in my experience, you'll probably spend the difference in commute, be it public transport or gas money. Plus, you save yourself time, get more sleep, and if you walk to work, get that needed daily exercise. Story 94. Cook at home. It's one of the most valuable skills you can learn in life, and it's honestly super easy to make good food. I know so many people that eat out daily, and the amount they spend just blows my mind. They are always complaining about money, but they could be saving hundreds every month easy. Story 95. When replacing electronics, do it a little early if you can. I've replaced iPhones and MacBooks while the old one still works and end up extending the life of both. Having a beater laptop or phone can be really useful too and saves money in the long run. Plus, you're less likely to lose important data if you don't run your one and only machine into the ground. Story 96. Rounding systems that round up every card purchase you make to the next and put that amount into a separate account. The one I use, Raise Invest in Stock, was about $1,000 a year for me before COVID hit, and I started making fewer purchases. It's like a spare change jar for your debit card. Story 97. IDK. If this works everywhere, but it works in Canada, ask your employer to take a set amount of extra money off your paycheck to pay into income tax. You never see the money, so you can't spend it in come tax time. If your portfolio isn't too complicated, aka all your money comes from your job and some straightforward investments and not complicated secondary or tertiary areas, then you will get money back. Since you weren't missing that money to begin with, it's basically free money to throw in a TFSA or RSP or to start some investments with or whatever. Story 98. I buy gold silver with my spare cash, put it in the safe deposit box and forget about it. If I really want to buy something, I would need to go to the safe deposit box, take it out, go to the gold silver dealer, exchange for cash, then buy said item. Not worth the hassle half the time. Story 99. Don't get the newest things that everyone is getting. People spending $300, $400, $500 on shoes only because someone's name is on them, possibly made by a 12-year-old for 12 cents a week. The newest phone just came out. You don't need it. Hell, you can probably even get by using an old-school flip phone, plus you get the satisfaction off clapping that phone closed if someone pisses you off and you don't want to talk to them anymore. Don't be ashamed of buying a good used vehicle that's got some high miles. Ever heard of a 93 Chevy Cavalier breaking down? Or a 98 Toyota Camry die? No, you have not. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube how to do general maintenance on them. Cut out Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Spotify, any subscription services, all them add up. And more than likely, if you're subscribed to any of them, you are not paying attention to your finances because it is automatically drafted out of your account. There are some free ones, yes, with ads, but saving money is saving money. It's the little bit of savings that add up. Get an over-the-air antenna. There are some great channels if you want a TV. Cook your meals. Mostly buy from the outer the walls of grocery stores. Produce is always to the right of when you entered the store, usually followed by lunch meat or meat department, then dairy or some variation of that order, all along the walls. The middle aisles are mostly filled with fillers, just like the processed foods that fill the most of the aisles. There are some caveats, such as seasonings, breads, and such. Story 100. My bank institute has a feature that is great for saving at least little amounts, and you don't really realize it. Every time I pay with my bank card, the price is rounded up to the next whole dollar or euro. You can also choose to add another dollar euro every time in addition, and the difference is going straight to the saving account. So if I go shopping and have to pay 23.50 euro, the bank sends 150, rounding up plus an additional euro, to my saving account. This way I don't really realize that I spent more, because it doesn't matter to me if it's 23.50 or 25 if I am not totally broke. And it actually sums up to quite a number if that happens every time I pay with a card. Story 101. Pay yourself before you pay the man. Put 50 or 100 from each paycheck into your savings if you can afford it. Some banks will let you set it up so the money is automatically taken out for you. After a few years, you've got a few $1,000s just sitting there for you. And if your job offers 401k matching, do it now. It's literally free money for your retirement. Story 102. Cut your credit card up. Take cut lunches to work and coffee, etc. Walk when you can to save on fares. Make some of your clothes if you can. Get the cheapest phone plan just so it's there for emergencies only. That's what we do. Don't buy things you don't want and cook most of your meals. Oh, hubby always barters when we buy anything like household goods, etc. Even cameras. He always gets money cut off. Story 103. Up to a certain amount, usually like 50, when I buy something I don't need, i.e., fast food, a case of beer, etc., I transfer the equivalent amount to my savings account. So if I go buy 15